What up, y'all? We live. We got another installment. Tips with Coach D. Okay. Today we're gonna be talking about being able to make an in-game adjustment. Okay. I know a couple of classes ago we talked about game planning, right? We talked about how much time coaches actually put in to film study, right? Scouting their opponents and then coming up with a plan to be able to attack the opponent offensively and defensively, right? And so going into the game, yeah, we have our outline, we got our game plan, we got our routine, right? But then once that ball's tipped, right, you got to be able to make that adjustment, okay? Because as we all know, it's very rare, right, that a game is going to go 100% to the game plan, okay? So what I mean, you might go into a game to where it's like, okay, we're gonna press this team. We're gonna run the 2-2-1 press. We're gonna run a diamond press. We're gonna go 1-3, 1-3/4, whatever the case may be. We're gonna pressure this team, right? But the game, right, might dictate that we need to do something different, right? So we might be in foul trouble, right? Players might be tired or whatever the case may be, and now we got to make an adjustment to come out of that full court defense. We might be able to have to go half. And as a player, you got to be able to mentally wrap yourself around that adjustment that the coach is making. Okay. So for instance, I remember there was a game that we were in this past season, and the team was zoning us. They only had like six players, and their back line was their, guess we'll call it, not the strongest part of their defense, right? It was the weaker part of the defense. But then we also had on that part of the zone, we had a player that wasn't really able to offensively take advantage of that matchup, but the ball always swung to that side. So what we do? Call the timeout. Say, okay, we're going to take you from this corner, put you up top. We're going to take you from the top, put you in the corner. And now off that swing, when you catch it, you're going to be able to attack this defender, okay? And so sure enough, coming out of the timeout, we were able to get 3 baskets straight out of those next 3 possessions. And so their coach made an adjustment and tried to put the kid on the other side. Then we made the adjustment, put our kid on the other side and attacked him again, and was able to get another 2 or 3 more baskets, gave us the momentum to get through the game. Now, I've also been on the other side of that to where, we have a certain odd front set that will run to an even set zone. And so what I mean by that, let's say if a team is going 2-3, right, where they got 2 players up top, well, we have it to where we got 3 offensive players up top, so we're playing 3-on-2. Well, this particular situation, they extended it to make it more of a half-court deal. And so we had 2 guards high. We had a guard at the free throw line. And so they had another player at the top of the key. So now it's like 3-on-3. So we don't have that advantage. And so we called timeout. We told our player at the free throw line, hey, instead of being at the free throw line, let's put you at the volleyball line. So now we're playing 3-on-2. And for whatever reason, we wasn't able to make that adjustment consistently enough. Like we hit it once or twice, but it's like they wasn't able to completely wrap their mind around that adjustment. We weren't able to take advantage of that space. Okay, so it goes both ways. Now, I've also been a part of where, as a coach, you coaching the game, and it's a tight ball game, and you have an adjustment that you think is working, and then it doesn't work, and then the game is over with, and then like 10 minutes, like oh man, all we had to do is this, that, and that, and that would have got it. So after the game, especially after it's a game that you lost, as a coach, you always have those adjustments that you feel like you could have made in a moment that would have made a difference in the ball game, right? Like we all have that. And so sometimes we're not aware of the adjustment that needs to be made. Some coaches aren't aware that you got to make an adjustment. Then there's some coaches that's aware that they need to make an adjustment, and don't know what the adjustment is, right? But all going into this from players and coaches, like each game is a learning experience. Each game is a chance for us to get better as a team, for players to get better at playing, and for coaches to get better at coaching. But we all had to go into it with that type of mindset. So as a parent, right, I'm always talking to my kids about making sure that they are like updating their software during the game, right? Like if you got an iPhone, the iPhone comes up with different versions every so often. And I remember listening to a podcast, and they made that analogy, and I was like, "Oh, that makes sense." I believe I was listening to No Chill with Gilbert Arenas, and so I took that analogy, gave it to my kids. I'm like, "Hey, as you playing the game, right, your software needs to be updating during the game so you can make whatever adjustment that needs to be made while you're playing." So if my matchup is a dominant right-handed player, right, and they're not giving me anything to the left, well, let me force them to the left and see if they can handle that, right? Or vice versa, offensively, if they're taking away my right hand, I got to have that skill set to be able to go left. I got to have the skill set to be able to change direction and without losing the ball. And then when it comes to, let's say, my shot might be a little strong, right? I'm a little long. Now I got to make that adjustment, right? To put a little more. Do I need to put a little more touch on it? Maybe a little more arc, right? Maybe my wrist action ain't strong enough. Maybe I'm not getting enough knees into my shot, right? If I'm missing layups, am I taking my eyes all the way to the finish, or am I looking at the defender instead of taking my eyes to the finish? Like, what type of adjustment throughout the game do I need to make as a player? So as a parent, you always want to make sure that you are making your kids aware that there's always going to be some type of small tweak or adjustment that they have to make while in the game. And then as a coach, it's our job to make sure that, hey, we tell our kids, yeah, this is our game plan, but then we're gonna have to make an adjustment, right? I remember there was a game that we played last year where we was like, all right, we're gonna run we're gonna run our 1-2-2 zone. I think we got hit by the COVID bug, so we had a couple kids out, and so we weren't going into a game with the full roster, and so we were thinking about saving the kids' legs, right? So when we step into the gym, we look at the kids, and me and the head coach looked at each other, gave that nod, and we had to understand it. Game plans out the window. We finna push up the whole game because it don't look like they got one ball handler out there. And so we're in the game, and of course, when you play full court pressure defense, like you're gonna give up a few layups, you'll give up a few bunnies, right? It happens, but you got to stay patient enough to be able to stick with it and know over the course of the game, they're not going to be able to keep up with your pace, and we knew that. But the kids, they was looking over to the sideline. They're like, Coach, I thought you said we was gonna play zone. We're like, hey, trust us. We making the adjustment. The kid looked. He was like, man, Coach, y'all crazy. And we looked at each other. We said, yeah, we are crazy. Yeah, pick up, full court, push up on them, turn them over. And we were able to win that game by 20 plus points. Okay, but being aware of the adjustments that need to be made is really an important part to making sure that our kids, our players are taking advantage of the situation to make sure that they can perform to the best of their capabilities. It's not always going to be that cookie cutter game plan. You're going to have to make adjustments, right? I remember there was a point in time to where they would say Doc Rivers of the NBA was the best in-game adjustment coach that there was in the league. I know he's getting a lot of flack now, but that was his deal. I think Ty Lue is really good at in-game adjustments. You know what I'm saying? Chris Paul's been he ain't a coach yet, but really good at in-game adjustments. LeBron, really good. Taurasi, really good at in-game adjustments. Okay, and so those are things that, again, those small details, which is the game within the game, right, that don't have nothing to do with dribble, pass, shooting, and defending, but just thinking the game out, what adjustments need to be made so that we can come out on top with the victory. All right, so that's our installment for today. Hopefully, these tips are helpful to players, to coaches, to parents, so that we can all help push the culture forward, all help our basketball players get that competitive edge to get to the next level. All right. So, Coach D, checking out.